So we are going to do some challenging poses today, just offering that up as an alternative to some of the more gentle stuff we sometimes do. If you are someone who feels like, challenge pose, that might not be the right thing for me, if you are close to a chair of some kind, you might want to go and grab that now so that you have it available. A chair allows you to do a lot of, when we're going up and down, I know sometimes that's a challenge for folks to be on the floor and then upright and back on the floor. And so a chair allows you to just make a halfway point. So you're not going fully up and down, you're going from the chair to up or from the chair to down. So I can offer a lot of chair alternates for some of the challenge poses we're doing today. The most important thing to know, especially because I know there's a couple people who are logging on today for the first time, this is your practice. So I'm offering up a few yoga poses that you can do, and you should only do the ones that feel like they're the right ones for you. At any point, you can change, you can do something different, take a rest, you can do what works for you, and I really encourage you to do that every time we practice. All right, let's get started. I'm going to set an intention today. So the idea of setting an intention is to think about, how do you want to feel when the class finishes? So maybe you've had the experience of going to a yoga class and you've had a feeling that you really enjoyed. And so perhaps you're remembering that and you're like, oh yeah, I'd like to feel that relaxed again, or grounded, or whatever it is. But it also might be that you're working through something at this stage in your life, this particular day, this particular week, and that you're hoping to spend a little bit of time clarifying something or feeling something that goes with wherever you're at. So let's take a moment just to quietly close your eyes and start to breathe and focus on your breathing. Just pay attention to it. You don't have to change it. Just notice the breath in, the breath out. And ask yourself, how would I like to feel when I finish yoga class today? Just see what answer pops up for you. How would I like to feel when I finish yoga class today? And then take 2 more breaths to release whatever it was that came to you. Just gonna let it go. The act of letting go of that intention is the idea that you don't have to focus on it very strongly in order for it to become true. But setting an intention and then releasing it out is often enough for it to come true for you. However, having said that, I am going to come back to it a couple of times during our practice, especially when we're doing some of the more challenging poses. I'm going to offer you an opportunity to think about, how does your intention fit with whatever we're doing. So again, if you've set an intention to feel relaxed and we're doing a really active pose, then at that moment I'll invite you to think about, okay, what can I do in this pose to be more relaxed into it? So just take a moment, whatever intention came to you there, and give it a one word. If it's not one word already, then think of one word. Maybe it's strength. Maybe it's release. whatever it is. And then I'll remind you as we're going through, having you just bring that into your practice today. Let's now take thumb, hand, and inhale and raise. Leave your shoulders low as you breathe out. In through your nose and out through your mouth. Put your hands together, little friction between them, and 2 breaths. Hands can reach up and come behind your neck or in front of your neck, depending on what's happening for your shoulders. Full extension now to breathe in. And slow hands to heart as you breathe out. And a breath here at the heart. Excellent. If we've been sitting a little too long already for you, you're welcome to stand or sit on a chair, adjust as needed. I'm lengthening my arms so the back of my wrists are resting on my knees. The other option is to take your hands and place them flat on the ground beside you. Let's get into the neck by lifting an ear towards the sky and letting the head just hang there for 2 big breaths. In through the nose, all the way out through the mouth. As you're ready, bring the head over to the other side. Again, let it hang there for 2 big breaths. Breathing out fully each time. Let's do both sides again. 2 breaths per side. As you're ready, the final side. Let your head float back to center and turn your head so you're looking towards the side for 2 big breaths. Keeping the back of the neck nice and long. And as you're ready, over to the other side. Letting the release happen, especially on the breath out. Once you're back at center, drop your chin towards your chest for 3 breaths. Then walk your eyes across the floor, up the opposite wall, and across the ceiling or sky until you get to where your head is comfortable. A little bit of a stretch for the front of the neck, opening the mouth to breathe. Walking those eyes back until the chin is on the chest again for 2 more breaths. And let the head float forward. Excellent. If you're standing, bring one arm up to the ear and let the other arm dangle. If you're sitting, the down arm is going to rest across your lap. The other arm has come up to your ear. We're going to breathe in and reach up. And maybe a little bit over. Finding a nice side stretch as we're warming up the body here. And then over to the other side. Other arm up to ear. And we're trying to keep the shoulder low. So even though the arm has come close to the ear, the shoulder has sink down. And then we start to breathe, reaching up and over. Excellent. Bring that back. Good. Bring one arm in front of you and drop the shoulder low. The other arm off to the side, also shoulders low. Look at the side hand and take a little twist towards the back as we start to warm up through the spine. 2 big breaths. And switch it. The other arm in front, other arm to the side, shoulders both low. Look past your side fingers and take a little twist and breathe. You see how it is for an eagle today, bringing an arm across the body, wrapping the other arm way underneath the tricep until the fingers of one hand touch the palm of the other with both your thumbs pointed at your nose. Now, if your arms and shoulders don't allow this one, do a variation where you're folding up the top arm using the bottom arm, but again, giving it a little pull across the body. So again, get some stretching for the back of the shoulder. Let's breathe here. Release that side and to the other side. Other arm comes around first. Other arm wraps underneath. Fingers of one hand against the palm of the other. Both thumbs pointed at your nose. Or an alternate that works for you here. And 2 big breaths. Let go of the arms and bring the hands around behind. Interlace your fingers behind you. Oppose your wrists from each other. Open wide across your chest and start to lift your hands a little bit higher, a little bit away from the body. And let's do 2 big breaths again. Release into a gentle hug. And just breathe easily into the low back. Gently twist. Put one arm on top of the other. Switch. Other arm on top. Gentle hug. So because we are going to offer a few challenging poses today, some of them will require some arm strength. So let's do the wrist opener, and you can do that from hands and knees, or any seated or standing position. You can take your one hand, your one palm and fingers against the other palm and fingers, causing the opening of the front of the forearm here. You can do that way or this way. Hands and knees, fingers pointed towards your knees, toes curled so that you can sit back. And 3 big breaths here as we open through the forearms. We're going to flip those hands over, so onto the back of the hands now. Fingers are still pointed towards your knees. If you're doing the seated variation, then instead of putting palms against palms, you're now pressing on the back of the hand to get the forearm stretch to the outside of the forearm. Good, give that a good shake. A small but intense position. Great. So we're going to go into a little bit of a challenge pose here to begin. Knowing what you know about your wrists, so if they felt particularly sore, then you might choose to do this one from the forearm position. Interlacing the fingers and keeping the forearms down so that you're resting on forearms and elbows. Or if you know that your wrists are okay, you can be on the full hand position. Spread your fingers wide and come into plank pose. And let's just take a moment here in plank. Got the fingers spread, the toes spread, and you're pressing back through your heels. And if this is a little bit too intense to be in the full plank position, of course, you have the option of bringing your knees down. All good. We're going to do a little bit with this plank today. So see how it is to make a rounded shape in your plank with the upper back. So a little bit more flat back, and then a little more rounded through the upper back and shoulders. Just go back and forth that way a couple of times. I'm going to add to that with the legs. So we're going to be making that shape as we bring our right knee towards our nose, making that little rounded shape through the upper back and shoulders, chin tucks toward the chest, and then foot places back into plank. 5 times. You'll notice your core is working. Starting to build a little bit of heat in the body. After 5 times, bring your knees down, and let's settle the heels back into pose of child to release. Take a moment with the arms long, and breathe. Then back to hands and knees, and back to plank pose. If the wrists have had enough, then come down onto the forearms instead. And same thing now with the left leg. Make that rounded shape with the upper back and shoulders as you bring the left knee in, and then back to plank. And you can do this with the one knee down, bringing the other knee in. Either one is fine. 5 times with the left leg. Excellent. This time go right up into downward dog. So find your good positioning here. Your hips are high and far back. Or if downward dog isn't for you today, then similar to the one that we just did, you're going to lengthen one leg out and press the heel way away from you. So the difference is if you're choosing this alternate, so instead of downward dog, if you're doing this one, we're not rounding through the upper back this time. Nice and flat. Leg is long. Or you're downward dogging. Little bicycle with the feet as you press one heel at a time towards ground. Press both heels towards the ground. Keep pressing those hips further behind you, maybe a little higher, and then lift your right leg high. And let's hold here for 3 breaths. Do what you can. If 3 breaths is too much, do what you're able. After the 3 breaths, we're going to be taking that right leg and we're going to step it forward between our hands, just like what we do in a sun salutation. So take that right leg now, step forward. Foot ends up between your 2 hands and plant your back foot into warrior position so that you are strong enough through your legs that you can lift yourself up. Excellent. Let's bring the arms into a big open V. The front knee is bent, the back leg is straight, and the hips are aiming to come forward. The back leg is angled, the back foot is angled, so your hips won't fully come to squarely forward, but mostly. Arms in the big V. 5 big breaths. Shoulders low. Nice open heart. And the lungs expand and you can space there. Now bring your fingers behind you and interlace them. Starting to pull the wrists apart and pull the shoulders down as you lengthen those arms a little lower towards the ground. We're going to pull those arms away from the body at the same time as dipping our head towards the inside of our knee. So you've got a front knee, should still be bent. Pull the arms away from the body. Start to bring the head down, close to the knee, beyond the knee, maybe hanging beside the inside of the knee. 3 big breaths. Bring yourself back up. Excellent. Release the arms. Beautiful. From standing, we're going back down onto the ground, and here's that option. If it's too much going fully up and down, if you've got a chair, you can just get the hands onto the chair. Come right back to hands and knees position. Couple of breaths, just a regular cat-cow, rounding and arching. Checking in with your spine here. How's it doing? So we've done several poses on one side. We're about to do them on the other side. Of course, if you need to modify them on this side, now you know what they are, so you might have some better ideas about modifying for your body. I'd also invite you to think back to your intention that you set at the beginning of this class. What was the one word that you wanted to feel at the end of class? So as we go through this side, I'll invite you to think about how do you bring that word, how do you bring that intention into each pose? Let's get back to downward dog, or its alternate, pressing of one heel out at a time. Your choice. Fingers are spread wide, pressing those hips back and hips high. And maybe again a little bicycle, one heel at a time, heads towards the ground. Press both heels down towards the floor and take the left leg up. Hold for 3 breaths. Or whatever amount works for you. The next move is to step that left leg in between your 2 hands. So the foot lands between the hands. Then we're going to adjust the back foot so that it's planted at a 45-degree angle. So my whole foot is touching the mat. I can feel the 4 corners of that foot on the mat. And my feet are grounding me strong enough that I'm able to stand. Open the arms in V. Drop the shoulders low. And 5 big breaths. As you hold here, think about your word, your intention. How does that come into this pose for you just now? What can you do to bring that intention into this pose? Bring the arms down to interlace behind your back. Pose your wrists. Open across your chest. First, draw the arms down towards the ground. Then pull them away from the body. And now we'll dip the head. Again, a chair is an excellent alternate here. You could have your hands on the chair in front of you instead of the more advanced pose of arms behind. Engage your core, so you've got the core strength to bring yourself back to standing. Release the arms, excellent. Turn the body so that now we've got the feet parallel to each other in a wide-legged position. We're just standing with wider legs. The knees are slightly bent, excellent. And from here, we're going to go into a wide-legged forward bend. Tuck your chin onto your chest and take a breath. Now start to round down 1 vertebra at a time. And then today I invite you to play with your hands. See if the hands want to walk back further behind you. See how it is to hold a hand on each ankle and dangle the head a little bit more. So keep hanging there, but play around with the positioning of your hands. Where feels like you're getting a good stretch? Where can you position those hands in that wide-legged forward bend that feels right for you? And then contract your core and rise back up slowly with control. Excellent. Then we'll heel toe, work our feet back to regular parallel position under our hips. Take your fingers into a gentle fist. Place those fists directly into your low back with the knees bent. Walk the eyes up. Open your mouth and breathe. Walk the eyes to center. Shake it all out and have a sip of water here. Take a small break. This is a great point to give me a little bit of feedback. So if you need to tell me anything like the sound isn't working or anything weird about doing this outside, then take yourself off mute and just let me know. All right, hearing nothing, I assume it is working for you. So let's come back down onto the ground now into this squat position. Like leapfrog as a child. So we said we'd give some challenge poses today. Crow is one of them. Again, it does ask quite a bit of your wrists. So if you're being cautious with wrists today, then you don't want to do very much of this. You want to take this one nice and gentle. Position yourself so you've got some mat in front of you, just in case the balance is off. It's pretty common that students will fall forward in this pose. So you want your mat there, not a hard floor to catch you. So in the leapfrog position, we're taking our hands onto the mat in front of us and positioning our elbows so that they line up. I've got my elbow kind of where the crease is of my knee. So with my bent knee, there's that crease where my calf and my hamstring meet. You sort of tuck your finger into that crease between the calf and the hamstring. That's about where I'm placing my elbow. Now you'll have to work it with your body. There'll be slight adjustments to that, but roughly speaking, that's where we're starting. We want the hands flat on the mat, elbows into that creased spot. And then we're just gradually going to put a little bit of more weight onto our hands instead of our feet. So you're starting to put weight on the hands, a little bit more weight on the hands as you lean forward into them. Spread the fingers wide. Maybe you put enough weight on your hands that you're up on your toes now. And maybe you put enough weight on your hands that you can lift one foot off the ground. And then try lifting the other foot off the ground. So all of these are practicing moves for the full crow where we take both feet off the ground. So your choice if you want to give that a go today, or maybe you just work with the one foot. Maybe you hold just a second. Play around with it for yourself. Of course, if it feels like too much, or if your wrists are starting to ache, you can pause, you can take a break. Excellent. Come on back. That's fabulous. Lay on your stomach on the mat. And adjust my camera slightly as you get settled on your stomach. Make sure that you're able to see me fully. There we go. So first, we're just gonna lay our heads on one side, arms beside you. Take a moment here to take a breath, letting go of the body. And maybe turn your head the other way. This gives a little stretch to the neck as well. Now bring your weight of your head onto your chin. Place your arms down beside you and start to reach your fingers towards your toes. Press your pubic bone into the ground and activate your core. So really squeeze your low abdominal muscles up towards your spine. And keep the core activated as you start to lift your chin and your chest off the ground. Fingers reaching down, core is helping your chin and chest to lift. And maybe it feels natural to lift your legs as well. That part's optional. Holding and breathing here. And then seeing if we can come down really slowly. Lots of control. Touch your chin, touch your forehead, and then rest. Rock out the hips a little bit. So now we're going to do that same move, but we're going to add the hands. They're going to help out. So when we're doing this next variation, we do increase the amount of back bend that's here. So if your back doesn't like to do back bends, then do the same one that we just did, or any modification that you know works for you. So this is a more advanced pose here, upward facing dog. So again, take weight onto your chin. And again, press your pubic bone into the ground and engage your core and start to lift your chin and your chest. So my hands are here, but I'm not using them. My hands are underneath my shoulders, but they're currently not in use. It's the core that's lifting me up, just like we did in the previous pose. Once you get to as high as your core will take you, take a little bit of weight into your hands and start to straighten a little bit through the arms so that now your core has lifted you, but your arms are helping. Shoulders are low, chest and heart are open. Taking several breaths. Feeling long through the low back. The whole spine is lengthening upward. And then let the arms help you come down slowly. And again, touch your chin, touch your forehead to release your neck. And rest on each cheek and rest your arms. Excellent. Turn yourself over. And offer up the option of shoulder stands today, as well as some alternates, of course. So once you're lying on your back, if you've got a stiff neck and shoulders today, and if you are menstruating the first 3 days of your cycle, then shoulder stands should be avoided. And your alternate always is getting those legs up and those arms up so that the same thing happens as in shoulder stands. This movement allows blood to flow towards your internal organs, giving them a nice internal massage. So it's good, just like shoulder stand is good. If your shoulders are feeling great, then you can start some rock and roll, rocking along your spine from tail to shoulders. And if you're not sure what a shoulder stand is or how to do it, you can just watch me this first time. We're going to rock up into pressing. My hands are on my hips. My elbows are as close together as they'll come. And I've got my toes roughly over my nose. Let's try that together so you can rock and roll to get out of it. I did forget the yoga rule of tucking in the shirt. We usually do that in class. So when you're ready, we're going to rock and roll back up. Elbows closer together if you can get them there. Toes above the nose. And taking a little bit of the weight of the hips into the heels of your hands. Back of the neck nice and long. Starting to breathe here. Feel even more length through the back of the neck and onto the upper back, upper part of the spine. That's where our weight is resting. So we want to feel length there. If it feels compressed at all, then come on out. There's no need to force it. Lots of breathing. And see how it is. If you've tried shoulder stand, see how it is to start to lower your feet towards the ground. They may or may not touch the floor. See how it is to let them hang over your head in this position. And maybe the arms settle down onto the mat, or the arms can reach above your head so that toes connect with hands. The safest way to get out of shoulder stand is to rock and roll out of it. However, if you've done lots of these and you know how to bring yourself out in a controlled way, then you can come out more slowly. And everyone can end up here, lying on your back. Arms can open off to the side. Just take a moment. Then bring the knees into the chest and flop them to one side with a thud. And 3 breaths here to release. Knees into the chest. Flop them over to the other side. And again, you're trying on this one simply to let everything go. But perhaps you consider your intention that you set at the beginning of the class. How does that intention fit with this pose? And those legs back to center. Place your feet hip width apart on the ground. Knees are hip width, feet are hip width. Rest of the body is outstretched. Arms beside you. And you can take your palms and place them face down. They'll be able to help out as we go into our bridge variations. So spread your toes wide and feel the connection of your toes on the mat, especially your big toe. Also squeeze your core. So a little kegel. Squeeze the low abdominals, and now lift your tailbone, and then the next vertebra, and the next, and the next. Slowly raising the hips up. Make sure those knees are still tracking over your toes. Feeling long through the back of the neck and the shoulders. And then let's one vertebra at a time come on down. going up and down like that a few times. Take a breath once you're back down to release, and then start again. Core squeezes first. Big toes press into the ground, and then lift the tailbone, and the next vertebra, and the next. Rolling up into bridge. Once you're at the top, head back down, one vertebra at a time. Good, let's do it again. Breath, core, starting to lift. And this time when we're at the top, I'd like you to imagine that you've placed one of those yoga foam blocks in between your knees, and you're going to squeeze towards it in little pulses 20 times. So squeezing those knees, 20 squeezes. The knees aren't touching each other. They're just pulsing towards each other as you hold your hips high. Excellent. After 20, one vertebra at a time brings you down. And this time, let's take a little break there. Bring the knees into the chest. Maybe rocking side to side. Good. So 2 choices. The regular choice for this bridge is, again, press your toes into the ground, squeeze your core, get yourself up into bridge. And then the 2 choices are, you can stay here with both feet on the ground and do the variation that we do where we let go through the glutes. We lower our hips to hover off the ground about an inch, and we squeeze the glutes to bring them back up. Or you can do all of that with one leg. So the one-legged variation needs the hands down, the shoulders down, and you might have to readjust the positioning of the feet so that you can lift and straighten one leg out. We're trying to keep the knees level with each other. If you try this and this feels like, whew, that is just too much work, then go back to both feet down. If you're trying it, then we're doing the same thing. Lowering the hips to hover, squeezing the hips to lift back up. Lowering the hips to hover, squeezing the hips, lift back up. Let's do one more. Great. Put both feet down. One vertebra at a time brings you down. And either bring your knees into your chest or lengthen your legs out. Lengthen your arms out. Make a long body and breathe. Let's do the other side. Knees up for bridge. Everything hip width apart. Squeeze the core. Start to lift one vertebra at a time off the ground. Feel the back of the neck, tops of the shoulders, taking weight. Readjust if you're doing the other side. See how it is to lengthen the other leg. And the knees level with each other. And then let's lower to a hover and squeeze the glutes to bring you back up. Lower to a hover. Squeeze and come up. One more. Place those feet back down. One vertebra at a time brings you down. Lengthen yourself outstretched. You're almost at Shavasana. We're going to do our next strengthener, and then we will be there. So let go through your whole body. Excellent. Make sure the back of your neck feels long. And together, we're going to let out our air. Together, take a breath in. And lift your head just 1 centimeter off the ground. Tiny lift. But tilt your chin towards your chest. Look down with your eyes. And press your tongue onto the roof of your mouth. And hold. And release. 2 more times. Big breath in. Tiny lift of the head, look down, press your chin, and press your tongue onto the roof of the mouth. Release. Last time, big breath in. Lift the head, tilt the chin, look down, and really press the tongue this time. Let go. Breathe easy. Just gently rock your head side to side. Checking in to see how that pose worked for your neck. And then let's get ready for Shavasana. Many of you can just stay lying down exactly as you are. If you prefer, you can be in the more seated meditative position or on a chair. I'm going to sit just so that my voice can project a little bit better. So your job right here is to get as comfortable as you can. Ensure the spine feels long, whatever position you've chosen. Including the neck still feels long. Shoulders low. And you're starting to pay attention to your own breathing. Noticing how deep or shallow the breath feels just now. Noticing if there's a sound to your breathing at all just now. Perhaps feeling a settling that comes from having worked hard today on poses. Now is the time for release. Mentally start to scan your own body, noticing if there are any places where you're holding tension still. Any sore places, tight places. And offer up a little breath to those spots. Breathing into them. And seeing if any release can happen as you breathe out. Ensuring that your face is relaxed, your jaw is released, the shoulders have remained low away from the ears, and that you're still breathing easily. I invite you to come back to your intention that you set for yourself. The word that represents how you'd like to feel when you finish class today. We're going to work with that word. Breathe it in. If you didn't find a word, if the word didn't come to you, then I invite you to use light. The idea of light, bringing light into ourselves, breathing light in, can mean a whole bunch of things. It's probably something different to each of you. But generally, we believe bringing light into ourselves is a positive experience. Whatever it means to you, you're going to breathe in, imagining bringing in light, or imagining bringing in whatever word you set for yourself. And breathe out, letting go. As you breathe in, say the word, your intention. As you breathe out, silently say, letting go. Continue like that for 1 minute silently. Now take 3 deeper breaths. Perhaps sigh the breath out. Start to move a little bit. If you're lying down, I invite you to turn over onto your side and push yourself up to sitting. And once you're here, and if you're already sitting, we do a neck roll by starting with an ear lift, and then very slowly rolling our head around the front. Pausing anytime you feel any soreness, breathing in to heal it. Slowly rolling your neck around the front. Go at your own slow pace. And when you get to the other side, you can choose to keep going, rolling in a full circle around the back of the neck, or to pause there, just change directions, keeping the neck roll only at the front. Your choice. Slowly return your head to center. Place your hands on your knees and we'll round those shoulders one more time. Chin comes toward chest. You're rounding through upper back and shoulders, breathing out. And then doing the opposite. Lifting the sternum, lifting the eyes slightly, breathing in. Rounding as you breathe out. Arching gently as you breathe in. Let's go a little bit off to the right side. So one shoulder gets a little more rounding. And then come back to center as you arch. And off to the other side. Back to center. And then settle at center. Good seated posture, nice tall spine. Your sit bones are anchoring you to the ground. Take your thumb into your other hand. Inhale as you raise your arms up. Leave your shoulders low as you exhale. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Hands together, 2 breaths. Bring the hands up and either behind the neck or in front of the neck. Full extension as you breathe in. Slow hands to heart as you breathe out. And the breath at the heart. Namaste.